This conference will now be recorded.
And I am just setting up some of the controls so that way I can change the audience view on things. So good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming on the call. Today, I understand, I've gotten a lot of texts and emails, people saying that it's hard for them to participate because they're at work or, they're doing one thing or another, and so they're listening to the call, but can't always share in the call or ask questions or what have you. So they try to, call me later and that type of thing. But what I have to tell you is that, unfortunately, when you call me later, I charge, right? So any questions you have, you need to either speak up and say I'm on this call or simply put something in the chat box, because quite frankly, other than that, that's it. Any of my other time is definitely charged. I charge for. So this call is your opportunity to ask whatever you'd like for free. So that's that. So we're going to get this call started. It's an awesome morning, everybody. I've had a good weekend, and today's starting off to be really awesome as well. So the things that I want to go over today, we're going to kind of jump into this. I get a lot of questions from people, and even some of the people that have called in after the call. Somebody's making a lot of noise, and if you could mute yourself or stop moving your phone or what have you, that'd be awesome. So one of the things that I'm getting from the people that do call me after the fact, after one of our conference calls, is they're not seeming to grasp the whole credit building thing, right? And so, our motto is, once again, we borrowed it from Donna J. Fox, attorney at law, which is it's easier to borrow $10 million than it is to earn it. But I add the extra part onto that, which is, don't borrow crap unless you have a game plan on paying it back, because it doesn't make any sense to position yourself in a, worse than where you're at currently by having more debt than you know what to do with, right? I've been there before. It's not a good look. I'm just telling you. So one of the things that I really want to get across to people, and we're going to start with the people with the least amount of credit, and even include people with already, fabulous credit, right? And so what we want to do is that if you have even a high credit score, but you're not getting, the amount of credit you think you deserve, it's probably because your credit score is high, but the amount of credit that you have displayed is minimal. And as I keep on saying over and over again, our objective is to have at least 7 lines of credit, and it can't be 7 lines of credit where it's just, a $300 Capital One or something of that nature, because no one gives a crap about that. No one cares that you have a $300 Capital One, a $200 Macy's card or something like that. They are going to base base their decision partly on, what your credit score is looking like. Are you credit worthy? What are you telling them? What is your story? And I say this over and over and over again. It is up to you to tell your story, right? They don't know squat about you other than what you tell them, and you tell them your story by either A, not paying your bills, or B, paying your bills, but not having much credit out there. So you choose the story you're going to tell them. As I have mentioned to you multiple times, if you look at my credit file, I showed you guys my credit file one day. I pulled up my Experian if you go to the bottom of my credit file, it says $144,000. It says that my income is $144,000 a year. And the reason it says that on my credit file, I didn't put that in there, they did it. And the reason it says that is because that's the story I chose to tell them, right? So whether I'm making $20,000 a year, $50,000 a year, or $100,000 a year, or whatever, I will tell them that is my story, $144,000 a year. I have a young lady that is having issues getting credit, and it's because of the story she's telling people, right? You can't tell people that you generate $50,000 a year and then subsequently want to borrow $25,000, but you already have a car note, you already have either a rent or a mortgage, you already have other obligations that are showing up on your credit file. So who's going to want to lend you money if you're saying, oh, I make 50 grand a year, and you already have, $60,000 a year that's going out? And, I'm being a little facetious with that, but hopefully you get that, right? Your story needs to always be much greater than what you're telling them currently. So and listen to this very carefully. If you are making $20,000 a year and that is your truest point, well, you need to start future casting. You need to start, thinking beyond that $20,000 a year. What do you anticipate doing in the future, right? And I would hope that you anticipate doing, if you're making 20 grand a year, you need to be figuring out how you can make 100 grand a year, and I'm not saying that someone that's not making 100 grand a year, I'm sorry, somebody making less than 100 grand a year is, doing something, bad or crazy or whatever. I'm just saying that in this world, and I don't care where you live in the United States or Canada or whatever, the facts is that if you're not making 100 grand a year, things are much, much more difficult for you, right? And you don't have to truly aspire to that, but at least let's start putting that on your applications. I mean, look, do what you want to do. This is just a suggestion to you, right? Because, I'm telling you up front, all my house is not 100% in order as I would like it to be. So, I'm just telling you what I know and believe, but what you choose to do with it is up to you, right? So, and I'm going to stop saying right. I say that a lot. Anyways, if you have an income of 100 grand a year, then you need to probably, add 50% on that, all right? You need to start telling them that, no, hey, my income is 149,000 or 148,000 or something like that. I always like to use odd numbers because no one makes $100,000 a year even, you know what I mean, or it's a rarity. So you always want to give yourself at least 50% over what you would normally generate. And it's not hard to show or prove, quite frankly. If you can, in your documentation show you making 100 grand, now you have a little business on the side, because you have a job or something of that nature, you have a business on the side, and then you're going to start saying, hey, I make that extra 50 grand. If you're making 20 grand, you need to start saying that you're making 98,000 or something of that nature, because we want our debt to income ratio, right, to not be out of whack. We want our debt to income ratio to be awesome, all right? We want it, below 30%, just like we want our credit cards. We want our credit cards, right, below 30%. And so think about that and start making that occur in your existence, right? This is everything that you do, whether it's personal credit, business credit, or corporate credit, it's all business. Your personal credit, your mortgages, your rent, your car notes, your whatever, your personal credit cards, you have to start thinking about those things as business, because that's how it ultimately affects you in the business world. All right, you're dealing with businesses, even though it's from your perspective on a personal level, but you are dealing with another business, so that makes it business stuff. And so let's kind of run through some of the avenues that are out there to help you start expanding your credit, because as I say all the time, credit is three-dimensional, y'all. So, the height, right, is your credit score. The depth is the age of your credit, and the width is the amount of trade lines you have, and we want at least 7 trade lines. And once again, we don't want those trade lines to be $300 cards or something like that, because if all you have are a bunch of $300, $500 cards, that's all you're going to get. Because why would some other company want to give you more on a credit card or a loan or something of that nature if no one else is choosing to give you anything worthwhile? So I'm going to run through some of the old favorites, if you will, that tend to do very, very, very well for our client base. And so we want to, it's the usual suspects, right? So as far as people with no credit or, marginal credit, then you want to run after, quick, fast, and hurry, the My Jewelers Clubs of the world, right? You want to, and that's a $5,000 card. You want to go after places like Ox Publishing, which will give you up to $2,500. Now, the difference between My Jewelers Club and someplace like Ox Publishing reports to 1, possibly 2 of the bureaus, but My Jewelers Club reports to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. So really you want to try to stick with the places that do, report to more places, but Ox Publishing will give anybody credit, and so that's a plus for us, right? But My Jewelers Club does as well. There is let's see. Oh my God, there's a list of them, right? So there's the Deluxe Signature Card reports to Equifax and TransUnion. Ox Publishing reports to Equifax. They might report to TransUnion as well. My Jewelers Club will report to all 3 credit bureaus. For the first 2 I mentioned, Ox Publishing will give you up to a $2,500 limit, and Deluxe Signature Card will give you up to a $2,000 limit. Now, the Stuff Club, honestly, I haven't really used them, but they're out there. And the Stuff Club will give up to $20K, and they report to TransUnion and Equifax. You'll have to do your due diligence with them. And then there's Tronix Country. It's a Tronix Country, and they will give you between a $500 and $3,500 credit line, all right? And then there's Emporium. They'll give you a $300 to $5,000 credit line, and they report to all 3 credit bureaus as well, Emporium. And so I want to say this: even if you have good credit, but you need to expand your credit, some of these would be good for you, but obviously you want to do the ones that will report to all 3 credit bureaus, okay? We also have these, people sleep on these, and it's I don't know why, but people, the Rental Karmas of the world, Rental Karma reports to TransUnion for sure, but I believe they also may report to Equifax now as well. So Rental Karma, we've been utilizing rent reporters and rent track for our client base, because for sure rent reporters, they report to Equifax and TransUnion, and then rent track reports to Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. So that's a big thing, right? That's huge. We want that type of thing, and they don't require very much information or documentation or whatever. I mean, quite frankly, you could, damn near be your own landlord if you work it out, right? So Hutton Chase, once again, these are all old favorites. I've mentioned these before, and they're a good look to have, all right? So if you're trying to expand your credit, in other words, have more than just a handful of pieces of credit, you might have 4 or 5 pieces of credit on your credit file. And once again, we want to have, 5 is like the bare minimum. And I'm just going to tell you, it's going to affect you in who's going to want to give you credit. They're going to look at you as having a thin file, right? And so we want to not have the appearance of a thin file. So we want to, add, I already mentioned, Rental Karma, Rent Reporter, Rent Track, and there's also Hutton Chase. We've had people add that, and it's done very, very well for them. And then the magic of Hutton Chase is that Hutton Chase reports to all 3 credit bureaus, so that's a good look. And I really prefer the ones that report to all 3 credit bureaus, and for obvious reasons, right? So we're once again trying to expand our credit file, right? And also, that means in several different ways. One is we need to start, every time we fill out an application, every time we put something down anywhere, what are we telling them? What are we telling them? Are we telling them, yeah, I'm that $20,000 a year person? Are we telling them that I'm that $80, $90, $100, $150,000, $200,000 a year person? Don't get ridiculous though, okay? Because when you start getting over the $150,000 mark, especially if like some people want to put 230 and stuff like that down for their personal income, if you're not already near that figure, don't do it. Okay, so my rule of thumb is that if a client comes to me and let's say they're making about 30 grand, 40 grand gross a year, I will suggest to them that, they might want to put somewhere around 98, 103, 104, you know what I'm saying, somewhere in that neighborhood. And if a person comes to me and they're making 60, 80 grand a year, then I would suggest to them that they might want to start pushing over the $100,000 mark, right? So if you're well under $100,000 in your income, then you want to push it up to at least somewhere in that $100,000 range. If you're in excess of $100,000 in your personal income, then you can push it up much higher in the mid hundreds, even 160, 180. But you want to be very careful about that, because the higher you change your income to, or start changing your income to, then the more it becomes scrutinized. And we want to remain below the radar, if you will, right? And ultimately, when you hit that $100,000 mark, or over that $100,000 mark, it's not that big of a deal. They don't tend to care, right? So once again, if I'm flat broke, or or making $144,000 a year for the last probably decade, even though I went through, it's been over a decade now, but even though I went through a downward spiral in my finances, right, I still kept reporting that $144,000 a year to the credit grantors and subsequently to the credit bureaus, because that's in my mind, and from what I've read and learned, you want to be able to continuously show that you're in income, So let's see. We've already went through all those places. Now there's self-lender. Now this is for you individuals that already have a good, you have capital at your disposal. And then you're going to want to go and do things like self-lender potentially, right? Research it, find out if it works for you. It's kind of like you're setting up a savings account for yourself with self-lender, because they're going to put the money in a CD. You're going to, so let's say you put $1,000 or something in there, or $2,000, and then what will end up happening subsequently is they will, give you the loan less, whatever little fees, and then you're going to make payments, and at the end of that period of time, then you get your bulk money back, right? Your grand or your $2,000. Now, see, I want to say to you, Self-Lender is a company that is specific to this, but the truth of the matter is that there are a lot of banks, there are a lot of banks, a lot of credit unions that do that very same thing, and report to all 3 credit bureaus for you. So you want to keep that in mind. Self-Lender is a company that's out there that does that, but you can also go to your local credit union or banking institution and also, do the same thing. One of the places that I like, it reports to all 3 credit bureaus, is OpenSky, and OpenSky is a MasterCard. The reason I like OpenSky is because A, it reports to all 3 credit bureaus, and B, they don't give a crap what your credit looks like. If I'm not mistaken, they don't even run a hard pull on your credit. I think they may after your credit has, after they've been approved or whatever, but at that point, who cares? So with OpenSky, let's say you go and you give them $1,000 or what have you. Now you have this $1,000 credit limit showing up on an OpenSky MasterCard, and that is a really good look, right? Now the deal is that let's say you have $1,000 or $1,200 to play with. What you could potentially do is take that $1,000, go to some place like your credit union, your bank, whatever the case may be, and or self-lender, and say, here's this $1,200, take your fees, whatever, and then they're going to give you your a loan against that CD, against that money that you've put in trust with them. And then you then take that money and then you go to some place like OpenSky and you create a credit card with them. So you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, or, so to speak. And then with OpenSky, now you have several thousand or a couple of $1,000s in credit that's going to report to all 3 credit bureaus for you, month in and month out. Excuse me, which is a good look. Now, ultimately, I'm giving you guys this so you have more resources for yourself. But the best ones, and I'm going to go back to those, are the Hutton Chases of the world, in my opinion, and the Credit Karmas, the Rent Tracks, that type of thing. Those are, the Hutton Chases, the My Jewelers Club. I like those better, quite frankly, but you can only do one of those, one of each one of those. So, if we're trying to expand our credit and you're at the lower rungs or of the credit game at this point, then you're going to have to do, maybe the Hutton Chase. I'm sorry, maybe the self-lender thing, and also maybe the OpenSky thing. I would prefer that you don't have to do that because, for obvious reasons, right? Because you're eating up your capital. Where with the other ones, you're going to pay $100 to $200, and they're going to give you a $5,000 line. So that's really what we want. Now, it's pretty basic. And once again, the reason I'm going over this stuff is because we want you guys to start building out your credit file so that the more expansive your credit file is, your personal credit file, the more money can be gotten out of the institutions, okay? And you have to start somewhere. Now, for you individuals that, already have, you're making money, you already have a decent credit file, but you want to learn or figure out how to expand so that you can go from being able to get $1,500, $5,000 credit cards and that type of thing. You know, what I'm going to suggest to you is that you would then, you know, this is not for everybody, obviously, but if you want to start being, positioning yourself to get larger sums of money, then you're going to have to go to places like Cabbage, okay? Places like even your local bank and seeing what kind of, or credit union preferably, and seeing what kind of money they can get you. But I'm telling you, we're having really good success with utilizing companies like Cabbage, companies like Marcus, especially Marcus by Goldman Sachs. We've had multiple people get at least 20 grand. Some people have gotten up to 22, 24, 20, I think the most is like 24 or 25 grand. But the point is that it's a very high interest rate. But places like Marcus by Goldman Sachs, places like SoFi, SOFI, places like Lightstream, and Lightstream is by SunTrust Bank. It's a division of SunTrust Bank. You know, those are the places that will take a chance on you, right? And when they're taking that chance on you and giving you that loan, you know, that's going to show, that's, you know, this is once again for the people that already have something going on and want to start expanding their credit and are relatively decent with their money. You know, you want to go to these different places, but knowing that you're going to do one of two things with this money. You're either going to take the money and have a game plan with it, right, that you know is going to make you some money, or you're going to take that money and just set it into an account and just make your payments off of that, knowing that there's a cost for this money, right? So that 20 grand over time, depending on which company gives you the money. So if it's Marcus by Goldman Sachs, I'm telling you that 20 grand is going to cost you 400 and some change a month. SoFi is going to cost you 300 and some change a month. Lightstream, it's going to cost you maybe about 300 and some odd dollars a month. All right, but Marcus by Goldman Sachs is the most expensive to hold that money, and so ultimately you're going to end up paying, all right, over the course of time, another $3,000 to $4,000 depending on who you've gotten that money from. So don't get the money unless you have a game plan, and that game plan, in my opinion, needs to be you have something that you can do with that money that you're, you know, damn near positive that you're going to be able to make a return on it, or you're going to take that money and you're going to leave that money sitting in your account, right? And you're going to start just utilizing that account to make your payments out of there for that money, knowing that ultimately 4 years down the road you will have paid an extra $700 a year in penalties or interest, if you will, to $1,000 a year on that money, and just knowing that that's going to be part of your thing. But I look at it from a different perspective, and I would hope that you will as well, because you're a business person, right? Sometimes to get what you want, we need to do different things. We need to be a little bolder, a little more bolder than the average person, okay? Sometimes, as a business person, I will get monies knowing that I'm going to pay a high interest rate. But if I have a plan, I don't give a crap about the interest rate, right? Because I'm a business person, and sometimes to get the funding that I need to accomplish whatever task it is that I have, then that's just what I'm going to do. I'm just going to get that money, high interest rate. I really don't give a crap because I have a plan. I have a plan of action, even if that plan of action is just to help me expand my overall credit file. Does that make sense to you guys? And if it doesn't, you know, hey. So, but let's say if you just did nothing but you got several $60,000 loans, right? And you know, I can, my income, my business income or whatever allows me that I can set that money aside and still just keep on doing what I'm doing. I'll set that money aside in the bank accounts, which is going to do what? It's going to make our bank accounts look better. It's going to make us look more viable, more viable candidate to our banks in two ways. One, the fact that we can have $20, $40, $60,000 sitting in cash, liquid capital, in their institutions. That's huge. And the other way is the fact that we're making payments month in, month out, because we're going to set it up on automatic, right? And so we're making these payments month in and month out. And what is that going to do for us? That's going to position us so that those very same institutions that we have the money in are going to want to give us money. That's just the way it works. And then they're going to want to give us money at a very reasonable interest rate because we're proving ourselves. So that $1,000 a year that you're spending, per 20 grand that you've gotten in interest, think about it as an avenue of positioning yourself to expand your overall credit, and then subsequently utilize that expansion of credit to go after more money at more favorable rates. And then quite honestly, if you do it even halfway right, you will be positioned in the next 12 to 24 months to have people start wanting to give you 50 grand at a time. Does that make sense? Because you have positioned yourself as such. And then you can take part of that money, that 20, 30, 40, 50 grand that, some other institution is going to want to give you at a favorable rate, and pay that crap off. Pay that, Marcus by Goldman Sachs, it's a tool. That the 20 grand that they're going to give you is nothing more than a tool to get you further down the road. And sometimes, I can't stress this enough, sometimes we have to utilize what is at hand for us. And I'm hoping that makes sense to you guys. If your credit's not pristine, but you have a goal, you have an objective, you have something that you're trying to accomplish, sometimes you gotta take, you just gotta take some lumps, right? It's just the way it goes. We are all trying to get to a certain point. I don't know what your specific goal is or whatever, but when it comes to this finance crap, it's all the same thing, right? So your business goal might be different than my business goal. The actions to make that business goal occur might be different than the actions I need to take to make my business goals occur. But when it comes down to the funding, to the monies, right, then all of that is pretty much the same. And so I can't stress that enough. We have to, think, how can I expand my credit file? How can I position my credit file so that I am able to go after more money? Very, very important. It should be the top of your list, because money, going after this money, personal credit, business credit, and then subsequently corporate credit, is the key to releasing us from whatever, financial bondage we're in, or whatever job bondage we're in. That's the key. It's to create the freedom that we want, right? And so, once again, if your credit's crappy, start utilizing those different places that I mentioned, the Hutton Chases of the world, the Lux Cards, the Ox Publishing, My Jewelers, Tronics Country, Emporium, Credit Karma, Rental Karma, Rent Track, I already mentioned Hutton Chase, Self-Lender, all these different places that will help you get your credit looking right. And for the people that are midline credit, right, so you're in the 680s, you're crazy if you don't add a Hutton Chase and a and a My Jewelers Club onto your credit file. In my opinion, that's just crazy if you don't. And then for those of you who have really good credit, or when I say good credit, I mean 680 and above, low sevens, excuse me, you are in a position where, in my opinion, you need to start looking at loans from places like SoFi, places like, as I just mentioned, Marcus by Goldman Sachs, places like Lightstream by SunTrust Bank. Those places are giving out money, right? Places like Cabbage, those places are giving out money. And so that's hugely important to us. That's hugely important to us. And we need to, start wherever you're at, there's a course for you. There's a plan for you. And I've given it out. I've laid it out. So wherever you're at, start there, and start building. We want to get your credit score high, but to get your credit score high, we need to, get that, the width of your credit. We need to, get 6, 7, 8, 10 pieces of credit showing across your credit file in good standing, and that's why I like places like My Jewelers Club, because they're going to give you a $5,000 trade line that you will never go over 30% of your threshold, because basically you're just going to buy their crap jewelry. When you start, it's going to cost you $200, right? And then you're going to pay your 20-some odd dollars a month in payments. Same thing with places like Hutton Chase. They'll give you a $1,500 line, and that's going to improve your overall look. That's going to work for you within the algorithms of the credit grantors and the credit bureaus, which is more important, right? Because those are the ones that are rating you. Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, and FICO. Sophia Isaac Corporation. So that's what we need to do. That's our focus. That's what we need to be pushing towards, to get ourselves positioned so we can go after more and more and more and more money, right? So we can do the things that we want to do without any headache. And so one of the other things that I'm gonna mention, this is the I don't know, Capital One. It's really a crap card, but if you can get them to give you, a couple of $1,000s or something of that nature, I wouldn't even, honestly, nowadays there's so many other options. I wouldn't even apply for Capital One, even though I have, we have two of them. We have Personal and we have Capital One Spark. They're just crappy. But the point is that once you get to like that 680 FICO score, not before that, because before that they're going to give you some little $300, $400, $500 card, and that's really not going to do anything for you. You're better off, in my opinion, with the places that I mentioned. All the list of places I just mentioned, including My Jewelers Club, which is truly one of my favorite. But once you get to that 680 point, higher, go ahead and get a Capital One card. And the reason being is because the Capital One card, even though they're crap, and once again, that's just my opinion, they will typically give anybody a credit card. And if they give you or they approve you for something over $1,000, that's a good look. Just know in your mind that you're never going to spend over that 30% on any credit card, especially Capital One. And more importantly, if you can get that $1,000 credit card or $2,000 or $3,000 credit card from Capital One, honestly, I would rarely use it unless you're going to go somewhere and buy something that you could buy in cash or with cash, and then when you get home, pay the Capital One, right? So that way it shows payments being made. Or let's call it, several days later. That's how the Capital One card I would use it for, because their interest rate is ridiculous. Their operation is ridiculous. Even like for us, we had an instance with Capital One where we paid them, so the on the personal card, the payment due date was on the 15th. So we typically pay our credit cards every other week or weekly. It just depends on cash flow, right? And so with Capital One, we paid them on the 14th. The bill was due on the 15th, so that took care of that. And then we paid them again on the 16th. And so we paid them 100 on the 14th, and there was a $33 bill. And then we paid them again another $100 on the 16th. And do you know that for whatever reason, we didn't pay again until the 16th of the next month or something, and they tried to charge us $39. And I'm like, dude, are you out of your? I cuss a lot, so forgive me, but are you out of your mind? You know, we paid you $100 after your statement date, after the bill due date. So, you know, how are you charging us $39 for a payment that was made for the, you know, for the following month? And we had not used that card again. So, you know, but Capital One, that's just who they are. So moving on a little bit, one of the things that I would like for all of you to do, the ones that can afford it, is to start going after your, you know, so we want to start setting you up right here, right now. So we're going to start going after, even though business line of credit cards and business line of credit loans are what we're primarily going after, but we also want to make sure that to some small degree we're establishing, you know, more of the business side of our stuff, right? So for those of you who already have a corporation or LLC, a legal business entity, you know, go ahead and get an account with Uline. What is it going to hurt you? Uline reports to Dun & Bradstreet and to Experian. Quill, Quill, these are both 30-day net. They report to Dun & Bradstreet as well, and Experian Business. And Experian Business is extremely, extremely, extremely important. Experian Business has taken Dun & Bradstreet's place as being the big boy on the block when it comes to business credit, because virtually everybody reports to them automatically. Where with Dun & Bradstreet, very few places, I mean a lot of places relatively speaking, report to them, but not as many as report to Experian. And Experian, also what makes them so awesome is you don't have to buy any of their dumbass programs. Like with Dun & Bradstreet, you know, they're always trying to sell you something, and I'm not big on that. So they're trying to pimp their client base, right, as well as get money from the back end from the business vendors that are buying your report. And so, you know, they're just not what they used to be, in my opinion. You can also do AT&T. They report to Dun & Bradstreet only. There's Granger. Granger reports to Dun & Bradstreet and Experian. There's a company called Wave Design. They report to Experian Business, and which is really, really good. There's a company called 4Imprint, and they report to Dun & Bradstreet and Experian. I'm not telling you guys to go out and get all of these. It's not necessary. But we want to start, you know, as we're building our personal business file, we also want to start on the side, slowly but surely, building up our, you know, how we look on Experian Business primarily, and Dun & Bradstreet secondly, and also Equifax Business. TransUnion Business doesn't really do anything. So, but we want to kind of just start slowly but surely building all aspects of our credit. All right. So our personal first, very important. Our business second, and then thirdly, our corporate. And adding these companies like that I've just mentioned, that's going to start building up your corporate profile so that eventually you'll be able to apply for credit and then not have to place yourself as a guarantor. And ideally, if we're doing everything properly, we'd be positioned to be able to do that within 24 to 36 months, realistically. So some people a little bit longer. It just depends on, are you building up your Experian business report? Are you getting that 80 paydex score or better? Those are the things that count. And once again, even with your, as I keep on mentioning about the expansiveness of your personal credit, we also have to think of being expansive in our business credit and our corporate credit. In other words, we want to have a multitude. So just a rule of thumb that I hear over and over and over again is that they would like to see 15 different trade lines on your Dun & Bradstreet and on your Experian business file. So that's what I when I read different things, that seems to be the consensus, is that 15 different lines is the minimum that they like to see on your Experian business and Experian business, Equifax business, and Dun & Bradstreet. 15 different trade lines. So a lot of people have gotten by with, oh yeah, I have these 3-4 things showing up on my Dun & Bradstreet. Well, if you want to get to a point where you can start applying for MasterCards, Visas, American Expresses, Discovers, and a host of other things, then, without you being the guarantor, then once again, we want to get to an expansive credit file for your personal, your business, and your corporate. Okay, so there's Gimplers. They report to their 30-day net as well. They report to Dun & Bradstreet. There's Supply Hero. They report to Dun & Bradstreet and Experian. There's Majestic Advertising. They report to Dun & Bradstreet and Experian. So all of these are 30-day net companies. There's a company called Seaton. It's a net 10, and they report to Dun & Bradstreet. Discount School Supply, 30-day net. They also report to Dun & Bradstreet and Experian. And I'm just going to kind of skip along here, and we're going to go to a few others. FedEx Kinko's, which you guys know. Everybody should have a FedEx Kinko and an account with FedEx Kinko and the USPS. Okay. Because they report, and FedEx reports to Experian and Dun & Bradstreet, and then there's so many more. I don't even feel like going through all these. There's UPS, which is really, really good to have. 1-800-Flowers. And so we scoot down here to another a little bit. Yeah, you know what? The rest of these you guys kind of look up. There's Bags and Bows. There's Nebs. Z Battery Deluxe. So on and so forth, and you guys can kind of look those things up. So hopefully you guys are I wanted to go back over a lot of this stuff because of the calls that I've gotten and the type of questions that people are asking. So I felt it important to go over some of the basics. So right now I'm going to go to my Credit Karma. And the reason I'm going to go to this Credit Karma account is because once again, I never use Credit Karma for the scores because their scores are never, in my opinion, never right. So they're usually, not usually, they're often as much as 50, sometimes 100 points off. So it just is what it is. So let me move this little deal out of the way first, and then I'm going to log in. The reason I'm going to Credit Karma is because I say this often, and hold on a second, y'all. I say this often, and I'm going to say it again and again and again. as a resource, Credit Karma is really, really good, right? So as a resource, Credit Karma, um, if you're looking for business cards, credit cards, what have you, loans, all these different things. I mean, I'm telling you, Credit Karma. Um, I keep it. I use my Experian business file. I'm sorry, my Experian credit monitoring service, because that's my real stuff, in my opinion. But for resources, and these are the very same resources that I use with my clients that are paying me good money to find stuff for them. And I can literally just go here, and I'm telling you guys, you really need to look at this, right? So I'm at Credit Karma. You go, once you log in, you go to the bottom of their page, and they have everything that you can think of. They have a calculator, a best, like if you're looking for a loan, you put in the amount that you're looking for, and based on your specific credit file, Credit Karma will, let me put in 50 grand here. Credit Karma, yeah. So Credit Karma will help you find, some places, right? And that's really that's to me, that's an awesome look, and that's what you're looking for. You want to utilize all these resources that are out here. The other thing that I wanted to go over with you really, really quick is, as time is running down, and I spent a lot of time on that first part, is like if you go to our website, and this is for you business people out there. I wanted to kind of end this call with this. When you come to my websites, you'll notice, for those of you who've been to my websites in the past, and those of you who may go in the future, I don't know. I've raised a lot of my prices, and the reason being is because the thing that I keep on getting from all these different quote-unquote gurus that are out there is that people will pay you what you believe you're worth. And what I have found is that is the truest thing in the world. Last year, we were charging $4,000 for our business credit building program, and this year we charge $5,000. Same conversation, same everything. Even if I have to deal with less people, I'm making $1,000 more per client, right? Which is better for me. So I want to impress upon you all, one of the ways that you're going to pay these loans back and build your business, because this call ultimately is about building our businesses, right? And funding is so important to us, because that's how we get money to build our businesses. Don't be the cheapest person on the block. I'm not saying be the most expensive, because I'm definitely not that, but I'm damn sure not the cheapest person. I and my contemporaries, other people that I speak with, and we start chopping it up about business, we discount all of the knowledge that we have taken in, all of the effort, all of the money, all of the bullshit that we've had to deal with to get the knowledge that we have. We discount that knowledge, and we find ourselves trying to constantly help people out by shortchanging us. Stop doing that dumbass stuff. No longer should you be the cheapest person, or no longer should you be the person that feels obligated to save the world, right? Because charity begins at home. If you can't save yourself, if you can't build your business, then you're not going to be able to help anybody, and you're damn sure not going to be able to help yourself. So if you look on my primary website, which is Vanguard Global LLC, you'll see I have packages on here for $8,000. And, I charge $250 an hour for my time. and I don't have like a degree for this stuff, but I know one thing. I know I have the knowledge base, right? And I know something even greater than the knowledge I have currently in my brain is that I'm willing to go out and research it and then subsequently give it to my client. And I also know I'm not going anywhere. So just the fact that a person can call me up on the same phone number that they were able to call me up 20 years ago on is huge. And if you think that you're a reliable, responsible person and that you are going to do the best you can for people, then stop shortchanging yourself. Please, please, please make your money, charge your fees, and the other part of it is go after as much money as you humanly possibly can. So if there's any questions, I've been talking a whole lot and we're at the end of this call virtually. So if anybody has anything to ask or put into the chat, I'm good with that. If you don't, I'm going to wrap this call up because I've been running my mouth a lot. So anybody, there's quite a few people on the call. And so if no one has anything to say, I'm hoping that once again you guys are getting something out of this, because we need to go out and obtain as much money as we possibly can and build strong, healthy businesses so that we can, help our fellow man out by employing them. Okay? That's our objective. That's my objective. I don't know what your objective is. My objective is to build business, hire people, take care of them, right? But I have to make sure that I'm taken care of first. And so if, somebody said, excellent call, Pascal. Thank you very much, whoever that is, because I don't see whoever. Oh, they want to stay private. So, anyways, it's all love. I mean, it's my objective. Once again, I don't know what the hell your objectives are, but my objective is I want to sensibly generate as much sensibly borrow as much money as humanly possible, because once again our motto is it's easier to borrow $10 million than it is to earn it, and then borrow that amount of money, whatever amount of money it ends up being, and then create businesses that allow me to employ good human beings that will then subsequently take care of their families, right? And so if you guys are interested in, I mean, look, I charge. I'm telling you right here, right now, if you call me after this call and if you don't have some money to pay me, then don't call me, all right, unless you're buying one of my services. And because I get these calls, I get these texts, and I get these emails, and that's what this call is about. This call is about us interacting with each other, sharing our knowledge, and me giving you guys what I'm learning as I'm going, okay? And so thank you guys so much for joining the call. You are greatly, greatly appreciated, and that's it. If no one has anything to interject, then we are done, son. All right, take care, y'all.